So today I'll be sharing a little bit about why patience is so important in negotiation and how people will use your lack of patience against you. Remember, today is Property Tuesday. My name is, if you've just joined me, Ben Chai. I'm the Doctor Who of business. That was coined to me, I think, by a lady called Marina. And every Monday I do broadcasts about business and Tuesday about property in general. Now, I've been working on a few deals, and the most, if you like, business you can get from a property deal are the hard ones. The easy ones everybody can do. So the amount of profit you get are not as high because it's not as involved, and you don't need such so much experience. So everybody, for example, can buy a property at market rate and rent it out, and it's a great way of earning revenue, which is higher than, if you like, the normal putting your money in the bank, where you earn kind of nothing. So there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to learn to attract higher revenues, you need to do a little bit more than just buy property at the normal value. You have to look for deals, and deals could be in any form. They could be you buying a property at normal price and then uplifting the value. It could be in you buying land and seeing something about the land that somebody else hasn't seen. For example, that you could extend or build higher, or split the property into extra flats or two houses or so on. Most of the challenging deals do require a lot of patience in negotiation, patience while doing due diligence, and patience in your reply to the person you're negotiating with. Because some of them that I've dealt with are, I don't know what planet they're on. I really, really don't. And it's really like, hey, they've got to win like this much and you've got to lose really badly. So there's no kind of like middle ground. Now, they never really get anywhere, but they'll be testing you. So if you walk away, then perhaps somebody else who is better at negotiation will actually achieve a very fantastic deal. Now, patience in negotiation is so important, especially if you happen to know the person a little bit, and you know perhaps their personality. There was a deal ages and ages ago where I wasn't patient, and the person would constantly be coming up to me and saying, "Well, what's your solutions, Ben? What shall we do?" And I would say, "Okay, we could do this, this, and this." And they would always put it down. That's a rubbish solution. Do you have another one? But actually, what they were doing is they were looking to, one, grow in themselves, and two, use anything that I said against me. So you need to know how to negotiate around those kinds of people, especially if you're in business with them already and you're actually trying to exit. So they will be in control while you're trying to come up with all the solutions, and they will probably be doing things in the background that you probably won't appreciate. So that's one area of patience that you need to be, just to be okay. Yes, I'm willing to walk away. I'm willing to not get the deal, or I'm willing to lose this money. And that's a very standard way of negotiation, is to say, okay, yeah, I don't mind if we lose all this money. That's going to happen, because they want you to make the first move. They just do, and then they can negotiate around that. Patience while doing due diligence. So I mentioned patterns on people, and many of the people that have learned from me, one of the greatest, if you like, learnings they've had from me is to watch people in action. And it's purely that, just to watch them in action. and see the patterns. You probably know that I'm always saying it's not what they say that counts, but what they do. Your actions always tell you, or not your actions, but their actions always tell you what they're like. Okay, so if for example they say, I'm a loving person, but you see their post saying, okay, I want you guys to defriend that people, or I want you to report their accounts to XYZ to have them shut down. Those are not loving. They are not loving ways of behavior. So when you see a disconnect between what comes out of their mouths and their actions, then you know that actually that due diligence on that person is very, very key to your negotiation. You might just think, okay, look, this is not worth my time because I can't trust anything they say. And really, you need a solicitor or somebody who can mediate between you, especially if you're already in business together, or it's maybe a family home that you're trying to negotiate for. You also need to do patience in doing other kinds of due diligence, such as looking at in the property world, we call these comparables. So we have a look at a property down the street. Someone says it's a great deal, and you find out that all the other properties have sold at the same price, or something similar, which is something that happened to me because someone tried to source a property to me in where I live, and they told me, oh, you can get this and this for this amount, and I want 10 grand for putting the deal towards you. Now, I happen to know that the property was being marketed at the normal price, and that you can normally get 10% off any marketed property price. So they weren't marketing a deal to me, and I actually happen to know a lot more about that property than they did. Now, remember we talked about patience. I could have got angry and said you're stupid, or you're terrible, or you're horrible. But in that case, I didn't. I just said, well, actually, I happen to know a lot more about this property. If you've got any better deals in future, here is my tick box list of what I need. Then I'm very happy to look at it. But otherwise, I'm not interested in doing this deal with you. So due diligence on the person, and that due diligence is looking at their actions compared to their words. It's also, by the way, looking at, especially if you're going to be doing business with a top property negotiator, please at least do a Google search on them. I remember being at an event with a guy called George Ross, who has written a book called The Art of Negotiation, which is a proper bestseller rather than these fake bestsellers where they manipulate Amazon to give them the #1 rating. And in his book, he really talks about doing a lot of due diligence, but also doing due diligence on the person. And he asked, this is his standard question: how many of you, before you came to hear me speak, did due diligence on me? How many of you went to Google and Googled what I'm like? Did you Google George Rossen scam, for example? Did you Google George Rossen court case? How many of you did some due diligence on me? And this is a very important concept, because if you don't have time to do due diligence on their actions or the pattern of their behavior, then at least do a minimum look at what somebody's like using internet search. And remember to triangulate it. So if there's one report on the person, you don't know whether it's fake or true. But so have a look at 3 or 4 of these reports and make up your mind on them. So due diligence. Patience in your replies. When I'm working with people and I say, okay, you need to tell them this, 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 and this, but you need to spread it out over 5 or 10 emails. And they're thinking, oh, well, I know, I'll just tell them all right now. Now, this is what we call overload. And actually, by doing the overload, you're telling them everything about you straight away, which puts them in a very strong negotiation position to negotiate with you. So I'm very much sharing little pieces of information to people before I actually reveal my hand. I need to understand who they are. I need to understand whether they're going to work on a win-win solution, or are they going to use everything that I share against me. So these are very important concepts. And the worst thing you could ever do, and I'm sorry, I'm guilty of this, is get angry. Because sometimes people just waste your time, and really they're probably not interested in negotiating at all. They already know what they're going to do, and they just want to suck you dry by saying, hey, for example, I've got some big investors to work with you, and you keep going along and you're working with them, but actually they have nothing, zero, nada. And again, you can tell that in their actions, in their businesses. Like when people, for example, are always saying, hey, Ben, would you like me to introduce you to some billionaire friends? And these guys are business and they need money. I'm thinking, well, why aren't you getting any money from them anyway? What's going on there? So this is the ability to ask questions. All right, guys, so this is Ben Chai, the Doctor Who of business. This is, if you like, my Tuesday property broadcast. Of course, patience is very important in any area of business. Just to be patient and not lose your emotions and display emotions in the boardroom. Well, there is one time when you should lose your emotions and perhaps cry, but that's another broadcast. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. Do share this broadcast if you've enjoyed it with other people. This is Ben Chai, the Doctor Who of Business, saying thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And I will reply to all of you in the comments below. Bye.